The Fellowship's journey across Middle-earth became one of cinema's greatest adventures, filled with magic, heroism, and unforgettable moments. But behind those breathtaking scenes, the real dangers were only beginning. One star was crushed beneath a 1-ton stage prop, another narrowly escaped drowning, while another was rushed to surgery after a devastating accident. This isn't the version of The Lord of the Rings you remember. It's the one they never wanted you to see. Let's find out. Let's begin with the actor who carried the fate of Middle-earth on his shoulders. But long before he became Frodo Baggins, Elijah Wood had to take a chance that changed his life. At just 18 years old, he knew a traditional audition wouldn't be enough. With the Fellowship of the Ring script kept under tight security, he hired a dialect coach, created his own Hobbit costume, and filmed a homemade VHS audition in Griffith Park before mailing it to Peter Jackson. The gamble paid off. Wood beat more than 150 other actors and became the very first cast member officially chosen for all 3 films. But years later, it wasn't a movie that put him back in the headlines. In 2016, Wood stunned Hollywood after telling the Sunday Times that organized networks of child abusers existed within the entertainment industry. Describing predators as vipers, he spoke openly about how vulnerable young actors could be when powerful people abused their influence. Wood also acknowledged how fortunate he had been, crediting his mother for protecting him throughout his childhood and shielding him from the dangers that many others were not able to escape. Away from the spotlight, his personal life has remained remarkably private. On New Year's Eve in 2024, Wood quietly married Danish film producer Mette Marie Kongsved in Sweden after years together. The couple had already welcomed 2 children, born in 2020 and 2023, and have deliberately kept their family life out of the public eye, a sharp contrast to the worldwide fame that followed his unforgettable portrayal of Frodo. By 2026, Elijah Wood is 45 years old and continues to carve out a career entirely on his own terms. Rather than chasing blockbuster fame, he has focused on distinctive independent projects while co-founding the horror production company Spectre Vision. From Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind to the acclaimed series Wilfred, Wood has built a remarkably diverse body of work. Next, we talk about Christopher Lee, who played Saruman, the fallen wizard whose cold authority haunted Middle-earth. He was 79 years old when he brought Saruman to life, turning the character into one of the most unforgettable villains in the entire trilogy through nothing but voice and presence. Without shouting, without exaggeration, he created fear with absolute control. But his real story was far more unbelievable than any script. Before Hollywood ever knew his name, Lee had already lived a life most actors could only pretend to portray. During World War II, he served in secret operations across North Africa and Italy, even tracking down Nazi war criminals. Experiences so real that when filming a stabbing scene, he calmly corrected Peter Jackson on what a dying man truly sounds like. That chilling accuracy didn't come from acting, it came from memory. After the war, Lee became the face of horror itself, portraying Dracula over 10 times and stepping into roles like Frankenstein's creature, building a career that spanned decades. But off-screen, he once walked away from love, ending his engagement with a Swedish countess because he believed he wasn't worthy of her wealth. Years later, he found lasting happiness with his wife Birgit Krunke, sharing more than 50 years together. Christopher Lee passed away on June 7, 2015, in London at the age of 93, due to heart failure and respiratory illness. He left behind over 282 roles, but more than that, he left behind a truth few could ever imagine. The man who terrified millions on screen had once been a real-life hero. Long before Ian McKellen became the definitive Gandalf, the role had already been turned down by both Anthony Hopkins and Sean Connery. In 1999, at 60 years old, McKellen agreed to take on The Lord of the Rings despite already committing to X-Men, a gamble that would earn him the first Academy Award nomination of his career. More importantly, Gandalf became the role that forever defined his legacy in the eyes of millions of fans around the world. But behind that legendary wizard was a man who, like everyone else, could never outrun time. In June 2024, at the age of 85, McKellen suffered a serious accident after falling from the stage at London's Noel Coward Theatre during a performance of Player Kings. The fall left him hospitalized for 3 nights and forced him to cancel the remainder of the West End production as well as the planned national tour. Although the incident alarmed fans worldwide, his producers later confirmed that he was recovering well. Away from the spotlight, McKellen had already fought another battle years earlier. In 1988, he publicly came out as gay, making one of the boldest decisions of his career at a time when prejudice against LGBTQ+ actors remained widespread throughout the entertainment industry. He later admitted that he spent years struggling with loneliness and emotional pressure, knowing that many believed being open about his sexuality could cost him major roles and limit his future in Hollywood. By 2026, Ian McKellen is 87 years old and still refuses to slow down. He has even hinted at returning as Gandalf in The Hunt for Gollum, delighting fans who never imagined seeing the legendary wizard again. Alongside that unforgettable role, his extraordinary career also includes Magneto in the X-Men franchise, acclaimed Shakespearean performances, and some of the highest honors in British and American theater, including Tony and Olivier Awards. Just 4 days after filming began, Peter Jackson realized he had made a serious mistake. Stuart Townsend was simply too young to be Aragorn. The role had to be recast immediately. Viggo Mortensen received the call but initially turned it down because he didn't want to spend more than a year away from his son. Everything changed when Henry, a devoted The Lord of the Rings fan, convinced his father to take the role. At 41 years old, Mortensen flew to New Zealand only days before filming began and quickly impressed everyone around him, with legendary swordmaster Bob Anderson later calling him the best swordsman I ever trained. But what happened on set was even more brutal than the casting drama. While filming the scene in which Aragorn kicks an orc helmet after believing Merry and Pippin had died, Mortensen threw himself so completely into the moment that he kicked it with full force and broke 2 toes. The scream heard in the finished film wasn't acting at all. It was a real cry of pain. The filmmakers decided to keep the take because it felt so authentic, turning the accident into one of the most unforgettable moments in the entire trilogy. Away from the spotlight, his life took a much quieter turn. Mortensen has been in a long-term relationship with Spanish actress Ariadna Gil since 2009. He has chosen to live a private life, dedicating much of his time to writing, photography, and music while staying largely away from the glamour of Hollywood. By 2026, at 68 years old, Viggo Mortensen remains in generally good health, although the joint injuries he sustained during years of filming action movies still bother him from time to time, especially when the weather changes. Over the course of his career, he has earned 3 Academy Award nominations for Eastern Promises, Captain Fantastic, and Green Book. More recently, he has even hinted that he would consider returning as Aragorn in The Hunt for Gollum, provided the script is worthy of the character's legacy. Orlando Bloom never originally set out to play Legolas. When he joined The Lord of the Rings at 20 years old, the young actor had actually hoped to audition for Faramir. But Peter Jackson saw something different. Bloom's graceful presence and natural elegance perfectly captured the spirit of an elven warrior, leading the director to cast him as Legolas instead. The decision transformed a virtually unknown actor into an international star, with Legolas becoming one of the trilogy's most iconic and unforgettable characters. That breakthrough opened the door to an extraordinary career. Bloom went on to establish himself as one of Hollywood's leading adventure stars through billion-dollar franchises like Pirates of the Caribbean, while later expanding into projects such as Carnival Row. In recent years, he has continued to challenge himself with darker roles, including the psychological thriller The Cut, 2024, and the action comedy Deep Cover, 2025. But beyond that perfect image, his personal life told a far more complicated story. His relationships have often made headlines around the world. He was married to supermodel Miranda Kerr from 2010 to 2013, and together they share a son, Flynn. In 2019, he became engaged to pop superstar Katy Perry, and the couple welcomed their daughter, Daisy Dove, the following year. However, after nearly a decade together, they officially confirmed their separation in June 2025. Despite the breakup, the two have remained on good terms and continue to co-parent their daughter. By 2026, Orlando Bloom is 49 years old and still maintains the impressive physical condition that has defined much of his career through a disciplined fitness routine. He continues to take on new film projects while also remaining committed to humanitarian work as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, a role he has proudly held since 2009. At first, the writers weren't completely convinced that Sean Astin was the right choice to play Samwise Gamgee. He was 29 years old when he auditioned, but everything changed after he performed the heartbreaking scene in which Sam believes Frodo has died. The raw emotion of his performance completely won over co-writer Philippa Boyens, helping establish Sam as the emotional heart of the entire trilogy. Following Peter Jackson's belief that hobbits should look round and comfortable, Astin also gained nearly 40 pounds to fully transform into Frodo's loyal gardener and closest friend. But the real pain didn't stop at acting. During filming, Astin suffered a genuine injury while shooting the scene in which Frodo leaves by boat. He stepped on a piece of broken glass hidden beneath the water, leaving his foot badly cut and requiring multiple stitches in the hospital. It was a painful reminder that behind some of the trilogy's most peaceful moments were very real sacrifices from the cast. Off-screen, his life tells a very different story. Sean Astin has enjoyed a remarkably stable family life. He has been married to Christine Harrell since 1992, and together they have raised 3 daughters. Their eldest, Alexandra, even appeared as Sam's daughter in the final scene of The Return of the King, creating a touching connection between Astin's real family and the character that defined his career. By 2026, at 55 years old, Sean Astin remains as active as ever, balancing a wide-ranging career that includes fan-favorite roles such as Bob Newby in Stranger Things, while continuing to be celebrated for classics like The Goonies. Beyond acting, he has also served as the 4th president of SAG-AFTRA, proving that the man who brought Samwise Gamgee to life continues to leave his mark both on and off the screen. Standing 6 feet 1 inch tall, John Rhys Davies was actually the tallest member of the Fellowship cast. Yet at 57 years old, he was chosen to play the dwarf Gimli after missing out on the role he had originally auditioned for, Denethor. His powerful build, commanding voice, and larger-than-life presence convinced Peter Jackson that he was the perfect actor to bring the hot-tempered dwarf warrior to life, despite being the least likely choice physically. But behind that iconic look was a physical ordeal few ever saw. Every filming day began with nearly 5 hours in the makeup chair, and the process eventually became a nightmare. It wasn't the prosthetics themselves that caused the problem, but the constant application and removal of heavy silicone pieces. Over time, the repeated process severely damaged the skin on his face. Some weeks, the area beneath his eyes became so badly irritated that the production had to give him every other day off to recover. During filming, Rhys Davies also lost nearly 70 pounds, forcing the makeup team to keep adjusting Gimli's prosthetic face as his own features became noticeably thinner. Away from the set, his personal life carried its own quiet weight. He married Suzanne Wilkinson in 1966, and together they had 2 sons before separating in 1985. Although they lived apart, the couple never divorced, and he continued caring for her during her final years until she passed away from Alzheimer's disease in 2010. Meanwhile, he began a new chapter with journalist Lisa Manning in 2004, and together they welcomed a daughter, Maya. By 2026, at 82 years old, John Rhys Davies has said he would consider returning as Gimli in The Hunt for Gollum, but only if modern CGI technology can spare him from enduring the painful prosthetic makeup that once, in his own words, took the skin off my face. Even after decades in the industry, his legacy remains unforgettable, from Sallah in Indiana Jones to the majestic voice of Treebeard, 2 performances that continue to stand among the most beloved of his remarkable career. Now it's Billy Boyd's turn. His natural humor and unmistakable Scottish accent made him Peter Jackson's perfect choice for the mischievous Pippin Took. By the time he won the role at 31 years old, Boyd had found the character that would define his career, remaining part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy throughout its 6-year production. Behind Pippin's cheerful personality, however, the filming process was often anything but comfortable. Boyd and his close friend Dominic Monaghan spent days shooting scenes in the freezing rivers of New Zealand during winter, enduring water so cold it left them almost numb. Even so, the cameras kept rolling, and the two actors had to stay in character, smiling and joking through the pain to capture Pippin and Merry's playful spirit. Away from Middle-earth, Boyd has enjoyed a happy and stable family life. He married Alison McKinnon in 2010, and together they have a son. Outside of acting, he also became the lead singer of the band Beefcake, and later wrote and performed The Last Goodbye, the emotional closing song for The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. By 2026, Billy Boyd is 58 years old and continues to balance both acting and music while enjoying a peaceful life with his family. Free from major scandals or serious health problems, he remains active in the entertainment industry, with fans also remembering his voice performance in Seed of Chucky alongside the unforgettable role that made him one of Middle-earth's most beloved hobbits. Dominic Monaghan didn't originally audition for Merry Brandybuck. His first goal was to land the lead role of Frodo Baggins, but although he didn't get the part, Peter Jackson and the producers immediately recognized something special. They saw the perfect chemistry between Monaghan and Billy Boyd, and at 22 years old, he was cast as Merry instead. Together, the two actors created one of the most beloved friendships in The Lord of the Rings, bringing both laughter and heartfelt emotion to the trilogy. The success of Middle-earth opened the door to an even broader career. Monaghan went on to appear in major franchises including X-Men Origins, Wolverine, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. He also earned praise for more dramatic performances in films such as Pet, 2016, and Last Looks, 2021, where he starred alongside Charlie Hunnam, further showcasing the range of his acting abilities. Away from acting, Monaghan has devoted much of his life to another lifelong passion: wildlife and nature. His enthusiasm for conservation and exploration became so well known that scientists named a newly discovered spider species, Catinus monaghanni, in his honor, recognizing his contributions through the documentary series Wild Things with Dominic Monaghan. By 2026, Dominic Monaghan is 50 years old and continues to enjoy an independent lifestyle. Never married and with no children, he has remained free to pursue his love of wildlife, travel, and adventure while continuing to take on acting projects that genuinely interest him. With her striking presence and unforgettable voice, Cate Blanchett was a natural choice to play Galadriel when she joined The Lord of the Rings at 30 years old. The Lady of Lorien went on to become one of only 2 characters, alongside Ian McKellen's Gandalf, to appear across all 6 of Peter Jackson's Middle-earth films. For Blanchett, accepting the role fulfilled a personal dream, as she later admitted that one of the reasons she signed on was simply because she had always wanted to wear a pair of elven ears on screen. While Galadriel became one of the defining roles of her career, Blanchett's success extended far beyond Middle-earth. She won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for portraying Katharine Hepburn in The Aviator in 2004, followed by the Oscar for Best Actress for Blue Jasmine in 2013. Her acclaimed performance in Tar earned her another nomination in 2022, bringing her total to 8 Academy Award nominations, the highest of any Australian actor. Never content to repeat herself, Blanchett has continued exploring entirely different genres throughout her career. In recent years, she has taken on ambitious new projects, including the science fiction action film Borderlands 2024 and the dark political satire Rumors 2024, once again demonstrating the remarkable range that has made her one of the industry's most respected performers. By 2026, Cate Blanchett is 57 years old, remains in excellent health, and continues to be regarded as one of Hollywood's finest actresses. Away from the cameras, she has enjoyed a long and happy marriage to playwright Andrew Upton since 1997, and together they have built a close-knit family with their 4 children. As the daughter of Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler, Liv Tyler had already begun making a name for herself in Hollywood when Peter Jackson and his team noticed her performance in Plunkett and McLean. Impressed by what they saw, they offered her the role of the elven Princess Arwen in 2000 when she was 22 years old, without putting her through an extensive audition process. Tyler even spent months training in sword fighting for a major battle sequence planned for the second film, only to see the entire scene removed before production was finished. Even so, Arwen became one of the defining roles of her career, further establishing her as an international star alongside earlier hits such as the blockbuster Armageddon, 1998. Rather than being remembered only as Middle-earth's ethereal princess, Tyler continued to expand her range with performances in Steve Buscemi's Lonesome Jim, 2005, and the suspense thriller The Strangers, 2008. Away from the cameras, her personal life has been marked by several major changes. Tyler was married to musician Royston Langdon from 2003 to 2008, and together they have a son. She later became engaged to sports manager Dave Gardner in 2015, and the couple welcomed 2 more children before ending their relationship in 2021. Despite the separation, they have remained on good terms and continue to co-parent their children. By 2026, Liv Tyler is 49 years old and continues to build on her long-running acting career. Most recently, she returned to the Marvel Universe as Betty Ross in Captain America: Brave New World, while continuing the humanitarian work she has supported as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador since 2003. Hugo Weaving's unforgettable performance as Agent Smith in The Matrix made him impossible to ignore. Following the film's enormous success in 1999, Peter Jackson offered him the role of the wise and noble Lord Elrond without putting him through the usual audition process. Weaving was 39 years old when he joined The Lord of the Rings, and Elrond would later become one of only 2 characters, alongside Cate Blanchett's Galadriel, to appear throughout all 6 of Peter Jackson's Middle-earth films. Despite becoming part of one of cinema's biggest franchises, Weaving has never hidden his dislike of Hollywood's increasingly commercial nature. In a 2020 interview with Variety, he made it clear that he had no interest in returning as Elrond. While he spoke warmly about his years filming in New Zealand, he also admitted that, after 2 complete trilogies, he felt both the cast and the audience had already experienced everything that role had to offer. Away from the spotlight, Weaving has shared a lifelong relationship with Katrina Greenwood since 1984, although the couple chose never to marry. Together, they have 2 children, Harry and Holly, both of whom carry their mother's surname, a decision their son has proudly described as the family's symbolic rejection of traditional patriarchy. By 2026, Hugo Weaving is 66 years old and continues to live much as he always has, quietly, privately, and far from the constant attention of the media. Even so, his passion for acting remains as strong as ever, with much of his time now devoted to independent films and acclaimed stage productions in his native Australia. So that's the Lord of the Rings cast update in 2026. From unforgettable heroes of Middle-earth to remarkable careers, personal struggles, and heartbreaking losses, time has changed their lives in extraordinary ways. Which cast member surprised you the most? And who will always be your favorite from The Lord of the Rings? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more then and now updates.